Thank you for taking the time to tune in with us. Here on Unclamped, we recognize that every patient and caregiver carries a story, each one shaped by unique experiences, challenges, and triumphs. Before we dive in, we want to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves so you can get to know the voices behind the mic, the journeys that brought us together here, and the passion that fuels this space. Because this isn't just a podcast, it really is about community, and every story matters. Hi, everyone. On today's episode, we have a very special Ask the Patient topic here. So these questions came straight from our community, caregivers, patients, parents, and supporters who wanted honest answers from people actually living this life. So on today's episode, we are actually having our first guest, Blair, and he is here, and I will let him introduce himself. So go ahead, Blair.
Hi, I'm Blair. I'm 30 years old. I'm from Utah, and I've been receiving EN nutrition for almost 6 years now, and parenteral nutrition for about five years or so now here. And I've just been living my life out here in Utah.
Well, thanks for joining us today. I think you're going to be able to offer our audience a lot of real life experience that'll really help them navigate their own journey. And we also have Crystal, who's our host, but she's also going to be able to share something that Gabby and I really can't speak to, which is the patient perspective.
All right, let's get started. Crystal, so you shared a reel of you working out, and that's what kind of started all this. So tell us, that was a good day, but tell us what a bad day looks like.
And you looked really badass, by the way, I gotta say. Sorry.
Thank you.
I just gotta say it.
Thank you. I don't normally share reels. As you guys know, a lot of the reels come from other people. So for me to share my actual workout with everyone was hard for me, I would say. Putting myself out there like that, it's completely different than being behind the mic. So I figured I'd try something different. But you did see me on a really good day, and you saw that I was actively infusing while I was working out and doing some things that a lot of people don't do. But that was a very good day for me. With my current, my chronic medical condition, I have some very good days, and then I have some very, very bad days. So you could say I have a roller coaster of a life. And my bad day, Gabby, which one of my bad days, how bad of a bad day do you want to hear about? That's the question. When I even say day, I mean moment. So my days go from that to me being consciously unresponsive. So I can be completely paralytic, lying and not being able to open my eyes, talk, move. And this is just part of the natural evolution of my disease. So there are some days that I can't use my hands, that I don't have the strength to hold up my own head. And when I say days, I actually don't mean days. I mean, there are some moments, because my life changes literally in the blink of an eye. And I can happily go into a lot of very detail if anyone does want to know. So please leave some comments and I can go into some details on that. But my bad days are really not pretty. I spend a lot of time on a ventilator that most people don't know about. I spend approximately 12 hours a day on a non-invasive vent with oxygen. And some people do know I use a power wheelchair. But people don't know that I'm conscious at times, but unresponsive, which is very hard for people to understand. And even some of my closest friends have a hard time grasping this and are a little scared of it.
Yeah, no, that
On those
sounds like, oh, sorry.
no. On those bad days, Crystal, where you're home and it's not like terribly, terribly bad, how do you handle your TPN? That was one question that we got in.
So on the days where I can function some, so let's say I have some hand movements, but I don't have strength. That's a day where I have to rely on other people. And I'm probably going to get some comments of, I can't have caregivers. I can't, you're so fortunate to have people in your lives that's able to step in. But honestly, if I have no choice, well, I do have a choice because we all have choices, but I have a couple of choices in my life to stop my TPN and end of life care. And if I didn't have the caregivers, either Michael or I have actual caregivers that come into the house to help me do my ADL, so my activities of daily living. And without them in my life, so I have somebody with me basically 24/7, which is incredibly difficult. It's actually, I think we have some questions about some other things later, and I can get into that a little bit more. But to answer that specific question, I actually have, because I'm not very trusting of people, and the way that you were taught to do it is not the way that I would. I know that. I would do it. So I actually have let's say it's spiking the bag. I will have my caregivers, if it's not Michael, who is fully capable of setting up my PN for me, hooking me up. He gives me my injections and everything. If I'm having a really, really bad day. But I'll actually use my hands, and you know how you twist, right, to put the spike in. I will then have them put their hands on my hand, so that it's still my hands touching the critical surfaces, and use their strength as one of my coping one mechanism I've figured out to help in the physical aspect of spiking the bag. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get my PN that day because they either have to fully set it up, which Michael can do, but if I have an aide, then I have to have some control because they're not legally allowed to, because they're home health aides and they're not nurses. But two, I also have very, very strong trust issues.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I mean, Blair, I know, like, for me in my own personal experience with just watching my son, that there's like a progression of like being diagnosed and like just like learning how to kind of navigate and regulate and decipher a good day versus a bad day. Do you have any like words of advice or words of wisdom that you can pass along to people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I can speak to that because that's been challenging. Through my younger years, I had a lot of health issues that were unresolved, undiagnosed, or left unmanaged because you're an adolescent and you're growing through a lot of different stuff. And who's to really say? And you're just a real tall person. Maybe that blood's just got a long way to go. No, you really have POTS later to find out, actually, turns out. But it was this unfortunate progression through my 20s and so on of losing weight and becoming malnourished and not being able to orally keep food down and getting to a point where I would see my primary care, and my primary care admitted me to hospital under the terms of failure to thrive and malnutrition, and my BMI was just too low. But we couldn't figure out the specifics of what all that meant, and so I would push it away and I would try and live my life because I don't want my medical stuff to define my life. And so I would continue to try and live as best as I could, ignoring and managing symptoms. till it got to a point where it wasn't working anymore. And that's when we began doing NJ tubes, and we started down enteral feeds and things of that nature, then got discharged with the bridle and the NJ and all of that fun stuff. I've been through the progressions with getting G&J tubes, then separate G&J tubes, and PICC lines. I've had PICC lines in both left and right, and a central line now that's migrated because of either bacteremia or other infections that have resulted. But all in all, I can speak of today, and today we're doing well and we're infectious free. So it's a good day.
Yay. One of the questions that came in, what is one of the hardest parts in managing your care as an adult, or what was the hardest part?
Blair, you want to take that?
One of the hardest, I would say, is insurance. I still don't feel like I understand it as an adult who's been fighting and talking with member advocates and insurance companies and providers and billing offices. It's still clear as mud to me all these years later.
Yeah, well, in the landscape,
valid.
No, for sure. I was just going to say, with the landscape, like just in our world in general today with healthcare, I empathize, because I can't even imagine being a patient and having to manage all of that on top of it.
Yeah, and then a stressful point during me getting sick was I had gotten sick, now I had aged out, and I needed to figure out my own insurance because I was too old to be on anybody else's insurance, and I had no idea what to do. But thankfully, I threw out resources and hospital referencing and many phone calls. You can figure it out. I don't think it's easy, but there are people that will help you.
Yes. Who would you say was your biggest advocate or resource during that process? I mean, was it social work? Was it a doctor?
So before I had even gotten to the point where things were completely unmanaged and we were going to feeding tubes, thankfully I had already had a good relationship with my primary care, whom I liked. We had worked with a dietitian for a few years even at that point, trying to manage my caloric intake and output. And so we already had a few people that knew we were trying to work our own avenues, and that wasn't feasible. So having a primary care doctor and dietitians, other people that can at least speak to your illnesses, ailments, problems, they can help open doors, get you to people that can help at least get you in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I love that. I know, for me, with I have 2 teens, and they always say that the hub is your pediatrician, or your PCP. It has to be the hub. You have to rely on them as being your biggest advocate, and you almost have to encourage them to take on the role, right? Because no one really wants extra work anymore. But really make them understand that they have to be your champion to really help get that momentum and keep those referrals going through and getting you to the right place to navigate for the care and the services that you need. So I think that that's great that you figured that out. That's awesome.
Let's jump right into the next question. This is a fun one. So Crystal, you can go first, but I want Blair to answer it too. What's in your hospital go bag?
My hospital to go bag. You're not going to believe this, Gabby, because you probably actually picture a to go bag, a purse, a backpack, a something. My hospital go bag is actually full of my medications, because most of my medications is non-formulary for the majority of the hospitals. So having mitochondrial myopathy, having a mitochondrial disease, means lots of supplements. So my to-go bag primarily consists of medications, and then the other things that that I go into the hospital with is a phone and a charger. And I'd had tried Michael bringing me in some of my own pajamas and stuff at times, but that didn't work because I end up vomiting on them, or when I'm in the hospital, I'm in some of my worst days because I refuse to go to the hospital and if I can manage something at home. And so, and I have spent quite a long time in the hospital, and lengths of time at a time. I've actually got kicked out of the hospital because it was Thanksgiving and they were trying to bring things down, and them knowing that I was probably going to be home for the 3 days or the 4 days for the weekend, and then readmitted as soon as the holiday was over. But they just wanted me out of the hospital so their census could go down for the timing while they were trying to get my dystonia under control. So my to-go bag looks completely different than your to-go bag, I'm sure. And I don't rely on my own clothes because by the time I can actually fit into I can always obviously fit in them, but by the time putting on or taking off my clothes makes sense, and somebody not being able to fully dress me, I'm ready to be discharged. And actually, normally when I am discharged, I still can't dress myself. And when you're a person that has to be transferred to the commode fully via Hoyer lift, or 2 people transfer, something like that, to be able to use the commode, it's not like I'm getting out of bed. I'm not even sitting up in bed most of the time on my own. So I'm normally in a gown. Some of the times the gown's not even really covering me because they fold it in 50 different directions. So my to-go bag is sadly lots of pills and people always ask, they're like, you've been in the hospital so much, don't you have extra medication? I'm like, no, because I have to take it to the hospital so that they can give it to me. So of course I don't have extra medication. The only thing I have extra medication of is maybe my pantoprazole, because they have prokinetics at the hospital, and they have Klonopin at the hospital, but they don't have they sometimes don't even have carnitine at the hospital in a form that I can use, or it's amazing. So being an adult is, especially an adult with mitochondrial, which is a pediatric disease, is a completely different world than what most people think of.
Mine's just a little different, but not crazy. Fresh boxers, underwear. You're gonna be in a gown, you're gonna be in a bed, you're gonna be out of a bed. A couple pair of underwear go a long way. A 12 by 12 pillow that's actually super duper soft. So it's like a hospital dedicated pillow, because like I feel miserable and I want to be left alone, and your pillow sucks. So just give me the warm blanket and my own pillow.
Right.
So that's my go bag. And then noise canceling headphones, because it's so noisy and there's always alarms.
Yeah.
Blair, do you often have roommates?
What's that?
Do you often have roommates?
Not always, but on that statement, the hospital that I do frequent, if I do have concern of a line infection, frequently have the police getting people in and out there rather quickly because they're disturbing everyone else. So
yes, I can relate to that. Depends on which hospital I'm going to. So if I'm going by ambulance, it'll be my local hospital. And if I'm going because it is bacteriemia, then and I end up at my local hospital, they're single rooms, but I'm on the floor that I'm like, which floor am I on? Am I on the psych floor, or am I on like a med surge floor? because they often have a lot of psychiatric patients, which is hard for, I'm glad they're there getting treatment, but for me to be able to heal is also very difficult when you hear screaming and all that during the middle of the night. So, good question.
Blair, when did you start TPN? At what age?
So I started TPN in 2020, actually just before COVID. I started TPN orders, and I started with a PICC line, and they drove me nuts. I know we're on a podcast, but for reference, I'm 6'4" and a rather lean 6'4". So I have really long extremities. I could kink the PICC line in my collarbone from either side of my PICC line. So I found that to be troubling to try and ever sleep, because you move your arm and then you kink something and now you're woken back up again. And PICCs drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Eventually, after we knew that unfortunately we would need peripheral access a bit more often, and we knew that PICC wasn't the way to go, we went to a central line, and from the central line there was some adaptation for sure and some learning. Having something on my chest was super obscure to me as someone who always just threw on a t-shirt and went about my day. Thankfully, as time's gone on, I've been able to kind of figure out some of my own ways and whatnot. So I secure my line with like the 8-inch hair ties that anyone would use to tie up like their hair for a soccer game or for football, or any of those big oblong rubbery headbands. I'll wear it as a necklace so that I can run tubing over and through it, and I can leave access so that if my line does get caught on something, I can feel it pull and I have extra to give, that I can immediately hold my chest and go, no, 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 don't open that door, please. Do not touch that door handle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a couple of close calls for me to figure out, like, okay, I need some way, shape, or form to keep the line close to me, but I need a little bit of leniency in that.
That's so interesting. I had never heard of that. I like that.
Yeah, they're inexpensive and they're easy to replace.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like your quality of life is less or changed or different now that you're on TPN versus before, especially since you came onto it a little bit later in life than a pediatric patient?
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest. That question has no. It's good. It's a little bit of a loaded question, but it's a good one because it's true. But my quality of life, yeah, it has been impacted since I started TPN and have done enteral feeds. I used to race mountain bikes through my early 20s, and I actually traveled all across from Texas to Florida to Vermont, racing and riding mountain bikes. I worked for a manufacturer based out of Spain, and I traveled my summers riding bikes across the US. So it was super awesome and it was super fun, but like everyone else, those travel jobs, I've seen a lot of Hotel Sixes, I've seen a lot of Marriott, and so, like, yeah, I don't travel near as frequently as I used to. Traveling is still realistic and you can definitely do it. Don't ever think that you can't not travel on TPN or PN or EN, any of them. It's doable and you can still have a life. Absolutely, 100%. And I still am able, like today, the sun was out and it was 45 degrees. So you put on as many clothes as you can and you enjoy the sun with the dogs while you can for a moment. So I still have a great life and things are wonderful.
I have a question for me, just as a caregiver who, really just wants to know how to better support my children as they're navigating this. So self-advocacy is so important. And I've heard both of you say, during your conversations or allude to anyway about how you've had to advocate and really, identify and navigate your journey. That's hard. Like, so Olivia, she was undiagnosed and in infancy. So like those nonverbal years were very anxiety provoking because you're guessing and assuming what your child's feeling and you're trying to get the help and you don't know, you're basically just shooting in the dark on how to fix them and help them. And then I have a teenager who, is an adolescent boy and sometimes doesn't have the words that are needed. So how did you guys navigate self-advocacy and getting to that point where you could communicate and like speak doctor, so to speak, to get people to listen to you and help get the care that you needed?
Yeah, I I feel like one of the things is finding that provider that you just click with, or that just seems to understand you, or like you speak the same. I don't know, but there's providers that I've seen that I cannot stand their bedside. I will never schedule a follow-up appointment with you, and I will never talk to you again. And there are providers that, even if they are rushed or they come in late or something like that, I still feel like there's that level of, yeah, but you can give me a minute to like hear me out. Or like, I know if I message you later, you're going to respond back in a timely fashion to me. And we'll be able to have a little bit of back and forth after this if we need to, about medications or altering treatments.
Yeah, no, that's really important for sure.
So for me, self-advocacy it really depends on the situation, as Blair was alluding to. Am I in the hospital? Am I with a new provider, or am I with somebody that has known me throughout my whole journey? So if I'm with like my primary doctor, or my neurologist, or even now my nurse practitioner, and my physician who orders my PN, I can be 100% me. But for some of the other doctors, you said speak medicalese, right? That's my problem. I speak fluent medicalese, and it's hard for me to speak layman when I'm in a medical crisis. And they don't always like it when you speak medicalese to them. And when I tell them exactly what I need and exactly what's happening to my body and how I'm feeling, depending on what doctor it is, they're like, well, did you look that up on Google? Like, no, I did not have to Google it. I did not have to Google that at all. I wouldn't even know. I'm not good at Google people. I can't Google if I want to. BT, I don't know how to use. Believe me, Jamie and Gabby can attest to that. So it's really knowing the doctors, as Blair was saying, was which ones you can talk to, which ones you need to pull in other people for advocacy for you. So being able to self-advocate doesn't always mean self, because sometimes to advocate for yourself, you need somebody else. And so I have, when I am in the hospital, I'm oftentimes unconscious or unconscious, but I'm not responsive, so I can't communicate. And I will need somebody to communicate for me, which ironically, Michael is like Blair, a nice 6'4" man. He can use the medicalese. Even though he's a finance guy, he can speak medicalese very fluently now these days. And they just listen and do and follow his orders to the T. Now,
okay, so we all need a 6'4" man. Sorry. Can I get one?
I mean, it
Okay.
does help to have somebody that can pursue, like has that physical, vocal, and can just take on the presence to be able to advocate for you. Would you not agree with that, Blair? At times you need somebody to advocate with you and for you.
Absolutely. Yes, especially if you're going to hospital and you think you're sick, there's not a chance you're having me advocating. You're just horrible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely noted that having somebody else when you're in those moments of pure vulnerability to advocate for you and setting that up, or even the letters, ironically my letters from my neurologist, who is a world-renowned neurologist, has thousands of publications telling them my exact protocols for things are ignored at times when presented in the emergency, which is the protocol specifically for my body with what it does and doesn't, can and can't metabolize, does and doesn't handle. So like, it's really interesting to learn how to balance those advocacy needs. And sometimes those are taken into consideration, but other times they're really not. So advocacy is quite broad, and we can definitely, I would love to hear some from you guys. Leave it in the comments, please, on how you guys advocate for yourselves and how you have others advocate for you. Besides the stuff we do, like when we go to like PDNC and different Hill days and stuff like that, that I know Jamie and Gabby have done, but I'm not sure. Blair, have you ever participated in a advocacy day?
I don't think
You would be great at it. So we need to pull Blair into some advocacy work.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do want to put it out there that I feel like our medical community and our providers have really, I feel like the culture and the landscape is changing on patient-centered care. And I do feel like that is more accepted and something that providers are seeking, which just warms my heart, because I always want to just be, a partner, and I always just want to work together. And I feel, especially now, because I've been doing this, I'm not a patient, but I'm a caregiver since 2007. And I feel like that acceptance and that welcoming me as part of the care team and as a partner has really changed for a lot of our providers. So I know we're just like all poking fun and and it is silly. And at times we are, we have those frustrating moments, but I do feel like, and platforms like this, where they have exposure to real life patients, kind of helps set, a different perspective and a different tone. So I'm really thankful for that. And I do see that across a lot of the healthcare nowadays, which is really, it makes me cautiously optimistic.
I would agree. I think Blair's smiling. So would you agree? Are you starting to become more optimistic?
We'll see.
It's cautiously. Listen, whenever Olivia was like in a kind of like a happy, like good, safe space, we'd be like, is she getting better? Like we're cautiously optimistic.
And
cautiously.
I think to be fair, I think they're in the pediatric world. I think that is starting to advance faster than in the adult world.
The adult world. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
The adult world is it's like a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to get a very, I know that's very slim, but you're going to get a really good doctor who listens to you. But you can find them. They are out there. There's some fantastic physicians that will partner with you and clinicians in general. And so when you find them, hold on to them, recommend them to friends, but don't over recommend them, because then they don't have time for you on their calendars.
Right? Sing it.
Then you get your 6-month schedule instead of your 4-month. But But yeah, I say even in the adult world, it's a slower transition, but we are starting to see more patient-centered care slowly rolling out, depending on where you are and the network. Which leads, can I ask Blair a question? As a patient, Blair, is your medical done at a major university, like university hospital, because you live relatively close to one, or is it a more rural setting?
Uh-huh. So at least over in the West Coast, there's, maybe I'm statistically speaking incorrectly, but there's less religious hospitals and there's more just affiliated community hospitals. So I'm part of a larger, like, affiliated community, Intermountain, which is found in Idaho, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and Arizona. Like, they have a
So
lot
it's
of
a large hospital
coverage
system.
within the, middle of the US, and they do a lot of different states. I've seen people, the University of Utah would be the other one that's here. And I've seen people there, but insurance changes and things alter. And so that would be the one other thing that I'd
Yeah.
caveat, just bookmarking in the finding a provider and a provider that will help you. Your insurance is ever changing. Providers are ever getting put on plans, getting pulled off plans. Like, if you hate the GI doc you have, there's definitely more doctors out there on that list. But yeah, I go to
And
a
on the East Coast,
based hospital. There's a lot of religious saint affiliated, right?
well, on the East Coast, we have a lot of big university hospitals, medical systems. So some of the big they're all medical schools, universities have medical schools, and we tend to have those on the East Coast. That's where our centers of excellence are. And that's a lot different than where I grew up in the middle of Indiana, where you have, there was two hospitals. One was called Home Hospital, one was St. Elizabeth. However, they're both small, small regional hospitals that doesn't have the bandwidth. Didn't have the bandwidth at the time. Now one of them is connected into a university hospital, so there's more expertise and stuff like that versus the commuting that you would have had to do to go to either Chicago or Indianapolis, one of the bigger cities. You had a university hospital with more knowledge, so it's a lot different, I would say.
Yeah. All right, I really want to ask this question that someone sent in. What's one thing that you do that people wouldn't expect you to do on TPN?
Oh,
It's
is
a
this like
good
a
one,
don't
isn't
tell
it?
my provider I do that, or
You can say whatever.
just
You don't have to be
kidding?
naughty, Blair.
No, I'm just kidding. I enter a fair amount of water. I don't go swimming and I don't submerge, but I can still enjoy the water even if I walk into my ankles, I walk into my knees, I like rub a little on my arms, call it a day. Like, I still have fun seeing the creeks and streams.
I love
So
that.
I still see water.
I love that too.
I like it. It's fun. But otherwise, I don't know. I've ridden a motorcycle on TPN, but I mean, y'all would have to talk to like Vincent about stuff like that. I know there's other people out there that live rambunctious lives too on TPN.
Yeah. So some of the things I do. Blair, do you still drive a car?
Absolutely.
Actively infusing? Actively
Yeah.
infusing.
Yeah, I've ran fluids
A lot of
and
people think
TPN.
you can't.
You just
Yeah,
got to
I was
hang
going
it
to say,
from
a
the
lot of
door
people think,
handle. Yeah.
You don't have to hang it from the door handle. You could or you can hang it from the door handle and let it swing open.
Well, so sorry. So Olivia is driving now, and she just puts it like on the floor of the passenger seat.
That's what I do.
Okay.
That's
okay.
cool.
Just I was just like wondering if maybe I was like not teaching her the right ways.
No, I sit my
do that
backpack when
over.
I'm driving. Go ahead, Blair.
You would what?
Yeah. Do that over putting it under your feet, under the pedals. Don't do the driver's side.
Yeah.
Not on the driver's side footwell. Do not put your bag there.
But I love that she has the Vigon tubing in case, like, she has to stop quick. She does have that, that extra pull.
The curly tubing, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't think they can drive and infuse, but I don't drive often, but when I do, I drive and infuse. I ride horseback, infusing. I go fishing on a boat, so I do lots of boating while I'm infusing. I also fish on the dock, or like on land too. But as Blair said, motorcycles. I do ride motorcycles. I'm not driving the motorcycle. I'm not the one I'm normally riding because I don't have the physical endurance to keep my balance that long. But still, I spend a lot of time on the back of motorcycles and also bicycles. So I can do both. ATVs. Let's see. And then there's also I bake. People don't think you can bake and use an oven while actively infusing. Which you can. It's so easy, especially if you have the curly Q tubing. And I think Blair, you also use curly Q tubing, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, like you could just set your backpack over to the side, and then it's just out of the way, and you're not even thinking about it. Like it's not coming close to the oven door. So, and then physical intimacy. You can totally have normal adult relations, infusing or non-infusing, doesn't matter. So those are some of the things I do. I actually had to think of things I do that some people don't think of. But those are some of the things I do. And I'm sure Blair does some of those same things, while he's on TPN.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And like, you can do whatever you want. I've gotten sicker as I've gotten older, and my health has kind of come and gone, and we all have our moments where things are on the up and up and then they're not. But I want to be a person before I'm a patient. I don't want to just be a patient. And my life is TPN. My life is feeds. My life is being connected to that machine. Like, yeah, I have that machine. It comes with me a lot. But like, I still exist and am a person in life too. And I can bake. I can make all kinds of bread. And guess what? I can cut it up while you eat it, and we can all have a conversation, and it's all normal. So, 100%.
Yeah, I love
Blair
that.
was also in a fashion show connected.
Yes.
Right.
And shirtless.
Yeah, and if y'all ever need to feel confident about your feeding tubes, just hit me up, and I'd be happy to tell you about some feeding tubes.
I never shared this with you, but my son, he's 9. I think at that conference he might have been 8. But when you went up on stage, he was like, "Hey yo!" And I could tell he was just so impressed. And that was one thing he talked about for a while. He just, because you were so confident, he's like, "Oh, okay, I could do it too." So that was awesome.
Walks along the beach, you can do whatever you want. I have photos. You can do whatever you want in life. It's great. Yeah. The only
David's
other thing
doing
that
pole
I
vaulting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
David's doing pole vaulting. He's trying to kill his mama, but he's doing pole vaulting. So yeah, not while infusing, but just having a line.
Yep.
Blair, what were you gonna say?
I don't remember. You can be
I'm
on the
sorry.
beach. Oh, I would say the only other, yeah, but on the beach topic, tank tops. When I sleep, I wear a tank top just because I have lines and cords and all this stuff coming off the bed. I have an IV pole that is fixed to my bedpost, so it can't physically fall over. Hang my feet and my stuff there, got it plugged in, and then just a tank top to keep all the cords from wrapping around my arms and blankets at night. And no one would know any different.
Yeah.
But I
And
just
how do
find that it
you
helps keep that line from like going left or right and getting wrapped under my arm throughout the night.
right?
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate like that? So I'm assuming you're connected overnight.
Yeah, I
How's the
run
bathroom trips work?
very carefully. It depends. I
Like, do you take
I
the bag
still
with
stay
you?
up.
Do you just like stretch?
I wish I could stretch. I stay up later than I should so that I can kind of like get through a period of time without having to get back up. But otherwise, I try to go to the bathroom last thing before I go to bed and then go to bed knowing if I do need to get up, this one right here is the only one that I need to deal with. The other ones will follow me, can reach, can stretch that far, whatever it is, so that I don't have to worry about dragging all of this stuff. Because I just need, I don't know about other people, but I have it set up so that I sleep on the side of the bed closest to the bathroom so that I have the shortest distance possible from bed to bathroom as possible because stuff happens and yeah, sometimes you have to throw away a rug because you puked on it and didn't make it all the way there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's interesting because as many people know, I fuse during the day. However, I sometimes infuse during the night intentionally if I'm going to be spending more time in the water than just my feet. If I'm going to like go diving or swimming in the ocean or swimming in the pool or whatever, then I infuse during the day so I can de-access and do all my swimming full water activities, or if I need to just do those things. But I also infuse at night if I need more hydration. And so when I need the extra hydration, I normally infuse 2 liters overnight. And one of those would be like normal saline. One of them would be potassium chloride. So I have them wide together and running at a relatively slow rate, but one that I will end it at 5 o'clock, approximately 5 o'clock in the morning. Knowing that at 5 o'clock in the morning, I have to take some medicines as well. And I put them in just a lunch bag, basically. So some of those moms out there would know what a 31 bag is. Some of those guys will too, but more ladies know what a 31 bag is. But just one of your like lunch bags, ironically, is what I use at night. I don't use my backpack at night as much as I use just a normal like cooler lunch. You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean, right? The cooler lunch bags. They'll fit both. They'll fit the 2 liters in plus the 2 pumps in. And at night, I don't normally use the curly Q tubing. So unless I'm completely unable to, if I'm unable to ambulate, if I know I'm unable to ambulate and Michael has to transfer me and we have to use my wheelchair, then I use the extension tubing because then it just stays on the back of my wheelchair and he can transfer me to the toilet. But if I'm able to go to the bathroom myself, I will then just carry the bag and if I just have to go to the bathroom and set it down on the vanity, go to the bathroom, flush the toilet, wash my hands, pick the bag back up, and go back and set it back down. And back, on the floor on my wheelchair or whatever. Sometimes I use my wheelchair to hold my bag so it's higher because I have a Blair size bed, not a crystal size bed. It's meant for people that are 6'4", so it's above my waist to get into it. Yeah, so that's the funny part, right? And or a Michael size bed, and that's what I do. It's really, and I don't turn on. I try not to turn lights on. If I have to get up to go to the bathroom. But I tend to only get up because I have neurogenic bladder. I can have all 2 liters in me and I wouldn't know it. So like Blair was saying, I try to get some of the infusion in and then go to the bathroom. I self-cast. So make sure my bladder is empty before I go to sleep. And then I'll sleep from then, which could be 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, normally closer to 10 o'clock at night, until 5 o'clock in the morning when it's done. And then I'll make sure I go to the bathroom. I might turn the light then so I can see to disconnect. But yeah. Blair, do you do both EN and your PN at night, or do you just do your TPN?
I just do TPN and fluids at night.
Yeah. So it's always interesting to see what other people. I find
my son uses a wheelie backpack because it's still kind of heavy for him, a regular backpack. And since he's like half asleep, he'll just like drop the backpack on the floor. And the pumps are in there, like hard. So he uses a backpack on wheels.
I think that's a super smart idea. In the future, we'll have a Dyson version that'll be like R2-D2 that can just like hold all
follow
of your
you
stuff.
Around.
Don't tell them where you're going, and they just follow you.
Well, I know with David, because he's so 15, he's all about growing. He wants to be a 6'4" man, okay? And he is only 5'7". So there's a lot of stress. Like the pressure is on. So he's honed in on sleeping and his sleeping habits. And so I know for him, he's been really stressed out about how, the frequent waking at night because of the amount of TPN that he's getting was disrupting his sleep. So we actually started working with a sleep specialist because he is that fixated on the fact that him being on TPN is going to affect his growth because he's not getting sleep. So it's a big rabbit hole. We're in it. So what we ended up doing was we ended up so he was on 3,500 because he's a pole vaulter and he's active and he's a growing boy. So he needed a lot of fluid and he's kind of potsy. So he has
3,500 mLs, not 3,500 calories, correct?
Okay. 3,500 mLs.
Because he could be on 3,500 calories as well.
True. He's not. But so what his sleep specialist advised was that we take a liter out of the TPN so that now he's only getting 2,500 mLs overnight. And we do a rapid bolus. So he gets, he goes to school, he does his track regimen, he comes home at 5. And from 5 to 7, he does a liter in 2 hours. And then he hooks up to his overnight at 9. And that gives his body enough time to absorb like the fluid. Like he's not going to lose it that quickly, but also has helped him sleep better overnight. And he knows because he's tracking all of the data. He has the Apple Watch.
Oh my God.
He's like, he has spreadsheets. I mean, the kid is like, God bless him. He's very
committed.
Yes. So, I mean, hopefully he grows because if he doesn't, I don't know what we're going to do. But that's been a really a big help for him.
Splitting it up.
Yeah. So like splitting up the volume. But again, he was worried about being hooked up, during the day. So we had to do it we do it super fast and super quick. But then the other thing for Olivia that I just wanted to note really quick was, because again, she started her enteral and parenteral nutrition journey when she was 13 months old. And we always just used to hang it on the pole. I mean, it just was easier for us. Like she was going to be in bed all night. Like at that point, she was still, incontinent overnight. So we were changing diapers. There was really no need for her to get up because she was a toddler. And I remember like once, she started growing out of that phase, her being like, I don't want to sleep by myself. And we were like, why? And she felt that she was stuck in the bed, because if there was ever an emergency or if she ever wanted to use the bathroom, that she couldn't, because how was she going to navigate just a loose pump and bag? And that was like a big aha moment for my husband and I, because we were like, wow, like that actually kind of is a fire hazard. So we just started putting it still on the IV pole, but in the pump bag. So like the back. And then she started sleeping better and everything just kind of like made sense because she had that freedom. But I didn't even realize that. I mean, that must feel like really scary to feel like you're kind of trapped in a bed. And it just never resonated with me until she was actually old enough to articulate that that's how she was feeling.
Yeah. So for me, well, there's a couple of reasons I don't infuse generally at night. One is it's not good for my bladder because, like I just said, I have a neurogenic bladder. So I would literally have everything still left in there, and I wouldn't know. And so we don't want to cause more kidney problems than what we already have, right? But the other thing is when I first started with IV therapy, I was having to be transferred all the time. So I had no option besides somebody transferring me. We were using an IV pole, and you know how hard it is for somebody to transfer you to a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, push you and an IV pole into the bathroom.
Yeah.
And our one bathroom is not that big, so everything doesn't fit. So then they would have to lift it up and put it into the either into the bathtub or go in the other way and leave it in the hall, and then transfer me to the toilet, or in our bigger bathroom, which would be the main bathroom. Depends on which bedroom you're using. But it would fit in, and then you could get it like over by like where our washer and dryer is. Yeah, it's really difficult, and you do feel trapped. I think for me, I felt trapped using, even though I knew I couldn't get up by myself. When everything was on the IV pole, it made me feel even more stuck than it did once we transitioned everything to a backpack and you could just move it.
Yeah. I like love this conversation. I feel like we could talk all night about all the things. So thankful that Blair, you joined us tonight, and Crystal, your insight is always just amazing. It's why I love that you're one of our co-hosts. But I do want to be mindful of time. So I hope that if you have more questions, or if this stimulated anything and you're like, wait, I need to know, please leave us comments, on our Spotify, our YouTube, wherever you're seeing our podcast, on our Facebook page. We love engaging. We love hearing feedback from our community. This is why we're here. We want to elevate all of our voices and really this be a platform for everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we can't wait to see you again soon.
We want to thank you for tuning in with us on Unclamped. We hope today's conversation reminded you that every diagnosis holds a story, one of strength, compassion, and connection. We want to give a heartfelt thank you to our sponsor, AvivoRx, for their commitment to supporting patients and families through their nutrition support journey. Their dedication makes conversations like this possible and provides a platform for the patient voice. We'd also love to hear from you too. If you have a story to share or a topic you'd like us to explore, reach out anytime at nutritiongroup4all@gmail.com. And be sure to find us on YouTube, follow along on our social media, and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.